I had an incredible interview this week with Stephanie Hickling Beckman of Different Strokes Theater. We filmed the interview at the rehearsal space for her upcoming production of Abe Lincoln and Uncle Tom in the White House, which performs at the Diana Wortham Theater from February 2nd through February 19th. Enjoy Stephanie's stories about her theater, her life, and how theater saved her life. Hello, I am Simone Snook, Realtor with Unicorn Realty at Fathom, and I am here today with Stephanie Hickling Beckman. She is the Artistic Director of Different Strokes Theater here in Asheville, so I'm very excited. Thank you for joining me today, Stephanie.
Thank you for asking me to join you.
You are very welcome.
This is exciting.
Yay! How did you make your way to Asheville? Where are you from originally?
I am originally from Atlanta. I was in Atlanta for most of my life and moved here in my 30s for the same reason that I think most people move here, to hope to recreate themselves, to become this person that they couldn't be somewhere else. So
I love that.
And
I understand that.
yeah, yeah. And this is where my theater career started also.
Well, wonderful.
So I wasn't doing it before I came here. I was knee deep in corporate America. I was the department manager at an insurance company. I had a whole other chapter before this one.
I love that. So what inspired you to leave the corporate world and dive into the theater world?
A stroke.
Okay. That's a big thing.
Yeah. So after my stroke, during my recovery, realizing that life was just way too short, and with my doctor's insistence, decided that I would just dedicate everything to theater.
I love that.
Essentially, here's a short story. Awesome story though. Theater saved my life, and people say that and they mean it in abstract ways. Mm-hmm. Theater literally saved my life. In the middle of my stroke, before my stroke, I had been rehearsing for vaginal monologues.
Okay.
I was playing a part of a Bosnian woman, and I woke up one morning in the middle of the stroke. It was already happening. And as my girlfriend was getting me to the car to get me to the hospital, all I could do was recite my lines over and over again. I'm drooling and reciting my lines. And the doctor said if I had not kept my brain active, that it could have been a lot more damage.
Oh my gosh.
So theater saved my life.
It literally did. I got chills when you told that story. Yeah, that's an incredible story. So you started doing theater, and then at what point did you start Different Strokes?
So I was doing theater when I moved here, and it was really hard to get cast. Asheville, we know, is in the most diverse place, even though that's how they advertise it. And it was really difficult, and I had some directors actually say, we would really love to cast you, but we don't have anybody to cast opposite you, or we don't have anyone to, my favorite was, match you on stage. Mm-mm. And after so many times, I'm complaining to my mom, and she's listening, and finally she said, you know, baby, I know this hurts, but you don't get to keep complaining if you don't do something about it. So it was only a couple of years later that Different Strokes was born, because I felt like if I was having such a hard time, then people with other differences were also having that hard time and doing the thing that they wanted to do, you know? Mm-hmm. So feeling like my race was holding me back from enjoying my passion was a little bit more than I could deal with. So, so I decided to create a company that celebrated diversity of all kinds. I believe that a conversation can solve a plethora of ills, right? I believe that people need to just learn how to have a conversation. Mm-hmm. I believe that there are ways that we can serve our community, especially as far as activism goes. I'm not a letter writer. I'm not a protester. I don't like walking, so I'm not going to get out carrying a sign, right? So I believe that my form of activism is theater, and that I can do shows that get people to sit down in a room and watch a show play out, and then actually have a conversation with each other afterwards. So as a supplement to all the Different Strokes shows, we include a post-show discussion, not a talk back. You know, people say talk back all the time. Talk back to me is, hey, how long did it take you to memorize your lines?
Oh, no.
Or do you really like doing theater? But our post-show discussions involve So let's unpack this show that we just watched. You know, let's talk about racism within our own community. Let's talk about homophobia within our own community, and not just talk about it. What's our responsibility in fixing that? What's the part that we play in solving these problems?
But what was one of your favorite or most impactful shows that you worked on?
When people ask me what my favorite show was, I can't answer that because that's like choosing your favorite child. We're not supposed to have those. But when you ask me what show is the most impactful for me, I would have to choose a play we did called Coyote on the Fence. It was written by Bruce Graham, and it's about a young white man who is on death row for backing his pickup truck to the only door of an all-black church and setting it on fire and watching it burn. So in the course of this play, we didn't just produce it, someone else directed it, and I played the part of the prison guard who is subject every day to taunts by this skinhead, because he was a skinhead and KKK member, and dealing with that. But just in the course of all of that, in the conversations that we had with the cast, I came to realize that this young man who hated so heartily was only doing what he was taught. So during his childhood, he was beaten by a stepfather, and one night he beat him so badly he broke his legs. But he crawled all the way to his uncle's house, who lived a few doors up, and his uncle raised him. The uncle was a Grand Dragon for the KKK. So when you look back at his life, what was apparent to me was the only person who taught him about love was also the person who taught him about hate. So he didn't have a chance from the very beginning. And a lot of the time when we look at the prison system and we look at these young people in particular going to prison, it's because when you look at, they talk about ACE scores and how when your ACE scores are so high that all it takes is one caring adult to turn that around. How this kid, Bobby, didn't have a caring adult in his life except for this uncle. This uncle who loved him and took care of him also hated Black people and Jewish people with a passion. And so that rubbed off on this kid, and he didn't know any better. So I think you have to look at the whole picture. You can't just judge a person by what they say, and sometimes even by what they do, because there's a lot more to it. So, well, I went into it pretty firmly planted on the side of pro-death penalty. But when I came out of it, I can honestly say, I don't even know. I don't even know what I think anymore. And then gradually just getting to the point of, no, we can't keep doing that. Because we've already proven that just because it's a trial doesn't mean that it comes out with the right results. And then we've proven that you can't judge a person judge their whole life by just a bad incident that happens. It's extremely powerful. I always want our audiences to be impacted and to make a change based on the shows that they see. But for my cast to be impacted by shows and for me to be impacted, that tells me that we're doing the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that, because it hopefully a good experience will change every audience member, but I love that it really changed you as well.
Yeah. I love that story.
Yeah, that's a great story. So what's next for Different Strokes?
I don't know, Simone. What's next for Different Strokes?
Spoiler alert, I'm in the next show, but I know that Stephanie talked about it.
We've got a really special season planned this season. We went into this season with two things on my mind. One was the importance of representation, and the second one was the importance of conversations. So with this next show, including the last one, so all of them, but this next show we have coming up is Abe Lincoln and Uncle Tom in the White House. I like saying that to people because you watch their eyes, because it brings up a whole lot of different things for different people. But I'm really excited about it because I know that I was raised with a lot of misconceptions about not only Abraham Lincoln, but the 13th Amendment and the Emancipation Proclamation, and who this fictitious character of Uncle Tom from Uncle Tom's Cabin is. And I was always taught, based on community interactions, that Uncle Tom was an insult. if you called another Black person Uncle Tom, those are fighting words, and you might not escape with your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just always hearing that and never bothering to research it or ask more questions about it. And then through this play, it's kind of prompted me to look up things and find out things for sure. And Uncle Tom, if you really read closely, his character in the novel, Uncle Tom's Cabin, he was a proud man. He was a loyal man, and he was an honorable man. And some of the things that you see him doing is like taking the cotton out of his bag and putting it in the bags of his friends, fellow enslaved people, so that they didn't get beaten. And he would often take those beatings for them. He actually was killed or beaten to death because he wouldn't tell where a couple of the runaway slaves had run to. So when you look at that kind of person, how you can possibly think that it's an insult to be compared to him, you know, it started to blow my mind. And then as I thought about it more deeply, and I seem to do that every day, I don't get away from this play for right now, but one of the reasons why Uncle Tom was used as an insult was because a lot of Black people back in the day saw him as a sellout, because he was always sucking up to the master or doing all these other things to ingratiate himself. But when you really look at it, there was no self kind of plugging going on with that. That was him trying to make it easier for his people to survive. And honestly, those of us who have jobs, we all report to somebody, right? And we all do stuff that we may not necessarily enjoy doing, but that's how we pay the bills, and that's how we get along, and in some cases that's how we stay alive. So there's a whole lot more to this play than meets the eye. It's not just about Abe Lincoln as a president, and that's kind of what you see as you go into it. You think, this is a play about Abraham Lincoln signing the Emancipation Proclamation. I think this now is a play about Uncle Tom. And he's not only kind of saying, y'all got me wrong, let me show you who I am, but also giving us a history lesson, because there's a lot of that happening within this play. And a lot of putting yourself in someone else's shoes to figure out how they get along in this world. So I think it's really important, and I'm excited because this is the first time with any play that we've done. We've done plays at the high school before and invited the high school audiences in, but this will be the first time where we actually arranged it so they can come to us. So we've got like 4 school shows happening, and I think they're all pretty close to selling out.
That's great.
So not selling out, because we got a grant that pays for these tickets, so they're coming to see the show free.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
But filling the seats and
seats.
Getting a really very cool way to experience some history.
Because if they won't allow critical race theory in the schools, then we'll just bring the schools to critical race theory.
That's right. I love it. That's great. Wonderful. What are some of your favorite things to do in Asheville, or not in Asheville, when you do get some moments to take a little break?
That's not very often. Not very often at all, but I enjoy a little bit of photography. I enjoy playing around with like graphic design, and I get the chance to do some of that with the shows that we do. But you can't really get away from theater. My wife and I quite often go to New York to see shows. So even when I'm not doing theater, I'm seeing theater.
Yes. Is there one little place nearby where if you just need like a quick half an hour, pick me up a place that makes you feel good to go to?
I really enjoy going to Liberty Cafe. That's like one of my favorite places, and I think it's the outdoor area. I don't like it so much in the wintertime because you can't really sit outdoors, but it's a really nice outdoor area, and it feels very hometowny. Yeah. So you got people sitting out on the grass, people at picnic tables, and you know, it's really cool. I love that place. Yeah, that's a great place. I love that too. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much again for your time and for just these incredible stories and perspectives. And come see Abe Lincoln and Uncle Tom. And I'll be there too every day. Yes, and it runs February 2nd through the 19th. The
Wonderful.
19th is a Sunday matinee for those of you who don't like to get out at night. So,
So 3 weekends, come and see it.
Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays at 7:30.
Wonderful. Thank you again, Stephanie.
Thanks, Simone.
Thanks so much. Take care.